I'm Marga Grey, and I'm an occupational therapist and the founder of CoordiKids. Today, I want to introduce Martha, who's also a pediatric occupational therapist. And she spent 6 years in mental health and 30 years in pediatric therapy. She has many years of experience working in schools. This is where she had been successful in engaging students who found writing difficult. She created Because Neatness Matters to provide the proper tools to build fine motor and handwriting skills in children. And Martha, you are most welcome on this platform. I am excited to hear what you have to say, and so I think are many other people as well.
Well, thank you, Marga. I really appreciate being here, and I'm really honored and excited to share anything that I can or any knowledge or experience that I've had over these years. If it helps anybody, I'm happy about that. But I really appreciate, just being able to talk about my passion and share that with you.
Yeah, good. So yeah, I think the game changers are all people who are passionate about helping children in some way or the other. And it's just so uplifting to talk to all of you. So Martha, I find your approach to handwriting refreshing. And the resources that you created very attractive. So many people argue that neat handwriting is not important anymore. So please tell us about your approach to learning handwriting and the reason why it is important.
Sure. I guess I would say that, I know technology is here to stay, and technology can be used really well in schools, I believe, with students. But I hope that doesn't exclude handwriting, because I think that they can have a marriage, like a happy marriage together. And what I think is actually most important is to look at the benefits of both, and then to choose to use whichever one in different situations that make sense and help our students learn and grow and move ahead and succeed in academics. So I spent, like you said, I've been a pediatric OT for 30 years, and 24 of those years was in schools. In my own experience, I felt that the keyboarding and using technology like that was kind of worked better with the older students in the higher grades. Now, I'm not saying, I think that there is a benefit for younger students and younger grades to do a project or a lesson and, kind of get to know the keyboard and use the technology in limited ways. But for day-to-day writing that's required especially for early, K1, 2 grades, I feel like handwriting is still essential and probably the primary choice. And I also wouldn't want some of the research that's involved in handwriting to get lost here either. And just briefly, it's been shown that students who learn how to write functionally in those early grades will succeed better in later academics. That's shown to be a correlation. It's also been shown that writing by hand is better in helping students to organize their thoughts. When doing a writing piece, and also writing by hand helps to move information learned from short to long-term memory. And then again, it's my experience that unless students become really, really skilled at keyboarding, handwriting is actually much quicker for many years until a student is very skilled. So I just feel like it's just much more practical. So I don't want to say no to all that technology, but just let's use it when it's most helpful, and then not disregard the handwriting, which is also very, very helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree so much with everything you say. I'm concerned about the fact that people just go onto devices and just say that this child will never be able to write. And
Right.
from my point of view, they still have to write at certain times.
Exactly.
So there will be a time where they have to write a phone number down, where they have to write with it, or signature, of course. But there comes times that you have to write, and then I don't want any child to stand and say, I cannot write.
Right.
That's a very, very daunting thing to say, and it will impact on their self-esteem a lot, especially if they see that peers are writing with ease. So I think it is important. But what me as an OT, and I think I'm an OT because I love to play. That's why we are OTs with kids. But you created a lovely tool with spiders to teach handwriting. And would you like to share your screen and introduce the listeners to these little spiders? And then you can also tell us about the importance of the sound associated with drawing parts of letters. And because I'm intrigued with that, and I think that is powerful.
Oh, great. Sure. I'm so happy to share that with you. So just in briefly to introduce it a little bit, in the Because Neatness Matters program, students become spider writers. So they use their web, which is their pencil marks, to make the various letters and numbers with good formation. And so along that line, there's some, we have instruction videos for all the letters and numbers, and students, like teachers or OTs can play this, and it's a fun way for students to learn the correct way of writing each letter and number. So there's a narration that gives directions for the letters, and students, some students can just listen to those directions and follow them, and that'll be fine, and they'll learn. But many students who have difficulty processing all that language and that verbiage, with the directions, what we have found and been excited about is that each of these, the lines, the different lines that create the letters and numbers have a different sound effect. And these students that have difficulty with the language are internalizing those sounds, and we as OTs and teachers can use that to teach students the actual sound effects as opposed to all the words. So without further ado, let me go ahead and share my screen. And so we're just going to watch the ends because it has a lot of the different types of lines. So let me start that off.
Why are we learning to write well? Because neatness matters! Yay! You can say that again. Neatness does matter. Sid Spider will use his web to show you how to write uppercase and lowercase n's. Always remember to start on the dot and go where the arrow points. For uppercase N, Spider jump up to the ceiling, and Spider drop straight down to the floor. Spider jump back up to the top of your line on the ceiling. And Spider slide down to the floor. Spider climb straight up to the ceiling and stop. Uppercase N. For lowercase n, Spider jump to the table. Spider drop straight down to the floor and spring back up. Spider walk up and around until you touch the table. Keep Spider walking in a circle down and around. Spider drop straight down to the ground. Lowercase n. You did a good job writing keeper n's, so check your keepers. Spider writers are nifty. Hello, Spider writers. Now it's time for you to practice writing keeper n's.
So they wave.
That is awesome.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so they really do. The students really engage and love these, and really, I feel like I've gotten the feedback that they really learn well from them. And along the way, they often make mistakes, and they model how to correct them happily, and just a lot of different antics that like really delight students. So.
Yeah, and that is something that a teacher can use in the classroom as well. So
right.
she put it on the screen and they can all watch, and then they can all copy the spider.
Right.
It's a game then, and not handwriting, you have to be
right.
So yeah, now you have lots of other resources as well. And I also noted that you offer bundles for schools and for therapists.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, then parents can use it as well. So tell us more about that.
Sure. So because Neatness Matters has, I feel like a good amount, a wide range of resources for both handwriting instruction as well as remediation. So on the instruction end, think a whole classroom instruction as well as small group instruction. There's K first and second grade workbooks, student workbooks, all taking into account like the last 25 years of changes that we've seen in the environment of the classroom as well as in the students. Things, it's just really they are unique, I want to say, as opposed to other programs. I think we might touch on that later. But that's kind of the instruction piece. And then along with that would also be the videos, like you said, for the teaching and the manual, the teacher's manual that comes with that. Now for remediation, that is where that's like the 7 subscription bundle, and that was created specifically for OTs, and also really helpful if it was a special ed teacher, I believe, but it was really created especially for OTs. And the way I like to think of it is like it's a library of resources. So the main hub of the main resource is a 400-page document that's worksheets for students at all different levels that are targeted to different handwriting difficulties, things like formation, spacing, line orientation, size, reversals, things like that. And it also has a large section for fine motor and visual motor skills, both paper, pencil, and scissors, so that could be used as warm-up activities, but also as like pre-writing activities if a student isn't even at the level of writing yet. So that's like the main one. But then associated with it would be all the Spider Writer videos, the 3 worksheet makers, which I don't have the time to, that'll be a whole nother podcast, but it's an amazing resource, and OTs and teachers love this resource because it can be, you can create your own worksheets specifically for your students' needs and interests, and at their level. It's 3 different levels, and you can grade it in many ways. So that's an awesome resource. Again, available for the teachers as well as OTs. But also in this bundle is this large resource to help reversals, because I've found over the years reversals are very tough to change. So again, we don't have time to show you all of the resources, but just know that is there. So, and then teachers and therapists manual. So like an OT who has a student who's struggling with any of these issues have multiple ways to address it with each child, and depending on what helps them the best. And also just, we know that we get tired of this kind of resource, and we want to have more than one option for each issue that is coming up in our practice.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I love that you also address the perceptual stuff and the reversals, because that goes hand in hand, doesn't it?
Yes, yes. Yeah. Very hard. I have found that was one of the hardest things to change. So I'm really getting great feedback on this activity. It's done mostly like through a computer or a tablet or that kind of thing, but then there's a handwriting piece to it too.
Mm-hmm. And then you also offer courses on handwriting. So who will benefit from attending this?
Yes, so it's exciting. I've teamed up with a couple of therapists at Aspire OT, and together we've created an AOTA approved 2-hour course that's very, very practical on handwriting instruction and remediation. And I do 4 or 5 live webinars every year, and then also on their website would be like the self-paced course is also there. So it's only for OTs though. It's really directed just for OTs.
So it's not for children.
Well, it's for pediatric OTs who are working with children. So a lot of school or like even in a clinic setting, and it's not specifically B&M based. It's all the principles, but it doesn't like promote B&M. It's more just about handwriting and helping students with handwriting.
Okay, and that's a big thing. I think that is one of the major referrals that we get is child's handwriting,
right?
Or nowadays I get some that say the child won't be able to write, so please help with typing.
Right.
Well, let's just step back a little bit and see why. But anyway, that's a topic for another story or another day. So you really, Martha, you really created an inspiring resource and business. Do you have advice for another person who wants to help children in one way or the other? What will be the first steps in commencing on this route of creating resources? Or
sure.
Business for that matter.
Right. All I can do is speak from my own experience, which, to me, understanding one's passion. So I've had a passion for fine motor, helping kids with fine motor and visual motor skills and handwriting for a long, long time, and have been very interested in that. And, but also there was a need, I saw a need because of all the changes that have happened over these last 25 years. I was finding more, the resources I was using were just less and less effective every year. They were less effective. And, so I was needing to create more and more myself anyway. So to really know your passion and to see the need. And then I guess I think it's really important to do as much learning as you can. I was just this therapist. I'd never thought of doing a business. So I learned, like I've been working on B&M for 7 years, even though it's only launched for 2, because a lot of that time was spent learning and developing the resources, but also learning about having a business. And I think it's really wise to create, to have a lot of resilience, because there's a lot of things that go wrong. And, you really just have to expect that, and to know that you have to have resilience and persevere, persevere, just keep going.
Yes, I agree. And that puts you down in the down at times, and why up mountains at other times.
Right.
Yes. Okay.
Exactly.
So in helping children, have you seen, with all the work that you've done and all the obviously lots of people that you're connected to, have you identified any gaps that you feel is an area where there is very limited resources? And I'm thinking, well, of course you identified handwriting, but did you come across anything else?
Well, the gaps that I found really were the seeds of Because Neatness Matters. So I, like I said, I found myself just without resources that were helpful, like that might have been helpful 10 or 15 years ago, just weren't anymore. The students that were coming to me were, because of their attention spans were shorter, their hand strength was less, and their coordination. There's this huge increase in students on the spectrum, as well as attention issues, as well as trauma. And like, I just think all the materials that we make and that I make, that anybody makes, that chooses, has to like have these into consideration now, currently. And so in terms of B&M, the gaps that I feel like there's so many things I could talk about, but I think the three that come to mind that kind of fill a gap would be, the first one would be that the resources, I've really made an effort to make them be able to generalize to other settings. Whatever somebody's learned in OT, to be able to more easily generalize to the classroom or to other settings. The second one would be, I really made an effort to bake in visual motor and fine motor skills to help really give a foundation for the handwriting. And then the last thing, like you mentioned earlier, I just really am on a mission to make things fun and light and interesting and happy and just engaging for students. I found that the students and myself, I was bored with the materials that I had to work with. They were just redundant and just hard to attend to. So, just to make them just more engaging, really. And then the other biggest gap that I wanted to fill is that the comprehensive resource for OTs. I don't know of another program that has something like a comprehensive way to address when handwriting is challenging in any way, and with so many ways options to deal with it. So I feel like that's a really like a unique offering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So if you think of the future, and you came a long way, you have a lot of experience, and as you said, our resources changed so much from a few decades ago to now. Something that was absolutely wow and fantastic at that time is just really boring, and we're not going to use that anymore at this stage. If you look into the future, what is your feeling? How do you think the future will be in serving and helping children?
Well, I guess thinking of my experience, I just would repeat what I just said, which is like I think it's important to respond and respect all the changes that our students have experienced, like are experiencing in themselves and in their environment, like to really take that into our hearts and to give them materials that will help them thrive in those situations. But I also would really, what the past 3 years have taught us is that all of our resources need to be versatile. Like they need to be able to be used in person, but also virtually, right? It's a hard lesson, but I think that's a really good thing to think about. And then the last thing is that I really want the things that I create, but also anybody else creates or chooses to engage students and draw them into deeper thinking and to expand the attention span, like to engage them without like that entertaining piece, not like fast images and sound bites and that kind of decrease their attention span, but draw them in, engage them, and like increase that attention span with each year. And I know handwriting is not rocket science. It's not that, but I do think that it's an important life and academic skill, and that needs, kind of direct teaching, and, our kids can succeed with it.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. So I think you are a true game changer in helping children, because it's just innovative resources that you created, and it will be so helpful for so many people. So some of our listeners would like to download a cheat sheet that where you share the basics of helping children through innovation and resources, specifically handwriting. So I think that will be very valuable for many people. It is a comprehensive cheat sheet. It's it's very I think it's excellent to download and to look at. But if anybody has any questions or want to discuss something with you, where can they find you?
So always email Martha at becauseneatnessmatters.com. The website, you can go to becauseneatnessmatters.com and there's a contact page for that. I think if you Google my name or even Because Neatness Matters, it might bring you in. But I'm always willing to meet with people, talk with people, demonstrate things, because the website, I've tried to make it, the teaching tools come alive, but it's a lot easier and actually more efficient to just show people. It's just easier. So.
Yeah, I think we all moved into, we want to see, what's happening. Yeah. So anyway, there are lots of other people who will be inspired by this talk and will be inspired by perhaps I can achieve my dream to help children in whichever way they see and where they saw a gap. Can you give a final message for role players or inspired future game changers?
So, in my reading, I write down just hundreds. I have hundreds of little quotes, but the one that comes to mind right now with your question is the one from Dr. Martin Luther King, which is just take the first step. You don't have to see the whole staircase. That has really helped me through these 7 years, just to focus on what I'm doing now and this step, and to kind of not be overwhelmed by the future.
I think that is excellent advice, because and I think that's often where you turn away from taking that first step. If you look at the whole staircase,
right.
I'll never get there. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Martha, it was lovely to talk to you, and thank you so much for being part of this CoordiKids series of interviews with game changers in helping children. You are really inspiring, and you have beautiful resources, and I'm sure many will look up to you for guidance on their path to make positive changes happen and to make those positive changes in people's lives. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, and thank you, Marga. I just can't tell you how much I'm amazed and impressed and inspired by you and your work and CoordiKids, and how you impact children every day around the world. So I'm truly inspired by you. Thanks.